The sun over New Anchorage was no longer warm. Its pale light filtered through clouds stained with ash and age, casting the ruined city in a cold glow. Vines choked skyscrapers now hollowed like carcasses. Streets had long turned to moss-covered paths, where silence reigned, except when something hunted. Dax Moran crouched near the edge of a collapsed overpass, his face streaked with dirt, breath fogging in the morning chill. He scanned the treeline through cracked binoculars, watching for movement not native to Earth. His instincts stirred. The forest had gone quiet. Again. Behind him, the makeshift camp nestled between concrete ribs of a fallen tower was quiet. Tents patched with scavenged insulation, solar panels tilted toward the weak light. A fire smoked low, its embers guarded by a wiry teenager named Jules, rifle slung casually, too casually. Stay low. Something's off. Dax muttered into his throat mic. Tell Malin to shut down the beacon. We've got company. Another scan? Jules asked, voice steady. Dax nodded. Not one of ours. In orbit, someone had pinged the surface again. Faint, but deliberate. A frequency he hadn't heard since before the culling. Not from scavengers. Too clean, too surgical. The last time a signal like that rang out, half the colony died before anyone had time to scream. He tapped into a passive relay node hidden beneath rubble. The holographic display blinked to life, spooling intercepted comms and jagged alien glyphs. Translated. Predatorium-class vessel. Confirmed. Coordinates logged. Dax stood body tense, muscles remembering training that came from a time before Earth fell. They're back, he whispered. The bastards who started the cull. A century ago, the skies tore open. Shuttles black as obsidian rained from orbit, not with war but with purpose. No grand speeches. No declaration. The alien elite didn't see humanity as equals. They saw Earth as a wild world out of balance, rich in fauna, rich in biomass, poor in submission. Predatorium fleets descended like gods to correct the ecosystem. Selective sterilization, ecosystem restructuring, removal of unstable elements, humans. Dax had watched entire settlements turn to glass. Families vanished in controlled burn zones. But they missed a few. Back in the camp, Malin, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, shut the beacon off and met Dax at the gear stack. Predators again? She asked. Confirmed. Hunting party. Small elite. Their kind doesn't come unless they expect to leave with trophies. Malin's gaze hardened. They still think we're extinct. That's their first mistake. He slid a combat blade into his boot, checked the power cell on his phase rifle. He preferred the old tools, things that didn't jam in rain or EMPs. But aliens didn't fight fair. Neither would he. We hold? She asked. No. We make them bleed. Dax moved fast through the undergrowth, shadow among shadows. The jungle had reclaimed downtown long ago. He'd turned the ruins into a trap-laden fortress. Tripwires made of copper fiber root vines. Pressure plates hidden beneath rubble. Sonic mines baited with heat signatures. He passed by one of the first signs of their arrival, a four-clawed footprint in wet loam. Each toe long, raptor-like? Not natural. Enhanced. Engineered. He touched a scar at his jawline. A reminder of a claw that nearly ended him once. Let's see what you brought this time, he murmured. Further along, near the rusted shell of an old transport truck, Dax found it. A drone. Sleek, bone-white. Its wings folded like a mantis. Scanning gear still warm. Recon, he muttered. They're mapping us. He jammed a knife into its lens and cracked open the casing. Inside, the data core blinked with stored logs. Dax connected his boot-rigged reader, and glyphs poured out. Hunt coordinates. 5 nobles. 1 command unit. Preserve acquisition protocol in effect. That made his blood run cold. They weren't just hunting. They were claiming Earth. Back at base, Dax broadcasted a narrow-band message through a tight beam relay. To all surviving enclaves within range. Earth is being marked. Again. Predatorium-class vessel in low orbit. Estimated 6-man hunt team. High tier. Armed. Dangerous. Objective unclear. Assume extermination protocol. You are not prey. Repeat, you are not prey. He signed off. Jules looked up, eyes wide. You really think they'll fight this time? They won't have a choice. In orbit, aboard the alien cruiser Crown Fong, High Lord Cyric Ventol sipped a distilled serum from a polished tusk glass. His hunting armor gleamed under the ambient light, made of iridescent carapace and fur stolen from 10 conquered worlds. Primitive world, he scoffed to his underling. They said the apex species burned itself out. A world without predators. Let us test that myth. Behind him, the other nobles flexed their claws, checked their guns, laughed in a dozen different dialects. Begin landing protocol, Cyric said, as Earth rotated below, green, breathing, and not as helpless as they thought. From a perch high above the jungle, Dax watched the drop shuttles descend like metallic wasps. Welcome to Earth, he said, voice low, deadly calm. Let's see if your kind bleeds red. And with that, he disappeared into the green. The jungle greeted them with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the silence that came before something went wrong. High Lord Cyric Ventol stepped down from the shuttle ramp, his boots sinking slightly into the moss-covered ground. A metallic scent drifted on the air. He inhaled deeply, lips curling. Clean. Untouched. Just as the archives promised. The others fanned out behind him, 5 nobles of blood and bone, all armored in ceremonial gear, each adorned with trophies from previous conquests. One carried a lance made from a Regelan tusk. Another wore a cloak stitched from the hide of a Sahari sunwolf. Predators, every one of them. But all pampered. Cyric's eyes scanned the treeline. Begin your scans. Set the boundary. Mark our perimeter. This hunt will not last more than 2 rotations. Understood, my lord, replied Kael'veth, the youngest of the 5. His voice lacked conviction. Cyric noted it. Noted everything. His people had grown soft, too long sipping blood wine and reliving old hunts through holograms. This planet would sharpen them. Or bury them. 5 kilometers away, Dax lay prone on a mossy slope, rifle braced on a broken tree trunk. Through the scope, he watched the nobles deploy. They're splitting into pairs, he said into the mic. Standard predatory overconfidence. Textbook arrogance. Malin's voice crackled softly through his earpiece. You see command? Front of the group. Gold-plated chest armor. Doesn't bend when he moves. Real proud. That's our alpha. He adjusted the scope slightly. I count 6. The files said 5. 6th one? Not like the others. Smaller. Cleaner armor. Carrying a datapad. Logistics? Maybe. Or a recorder. Malin exhaled slowly. Then they're broadcasting this. Dax's grip tightened. That changed everything. In the heart of the forest, Kael'veth wandered farther than instructed. He traced his fingers along a thick root wall, marveling at its size. The ecosystem had rebounded more aggressively than expected. His suit's visor flashed, thermal anomaly. Movement 30 meters to the left. He turned, activating his targeting lens. Nothing. Just dense foliage. Still, he raised his weapon. Kael'veth to Cyric. Detected movement. Awaiting permission to engage. Cyric's voice came back dry. Your prey will not wait for permission. Hunt, or be forgotten. With a swallow of pride and fear, Kael'veth moved forward. He never saw the wire. It snapped tight around his ankle, yanking him skyward in an instant. His weapon flew from his grip, embedding in a log. He hung upside down, armor scraping against bark, spinning slowly. Then something moved beneath him. A blur. A flash of steel. His throat opened in silence. Blood sprayed across the leaves as his body convulsed and stilled. Back at the drop site, Cyric's communicator pinged. Kael'veth's biolink is gone, the tech noble reported. No vital signs. Signal dead. Cyric paused, staring into the trees. Explain. He was on patrol. Alone. The silence returned. Retrieve the body, Cyric said coldly. Do not split again. Dax cleaned the blade on his pant leg, crouched beneath the hanging corpse. Soft. Fast reflexes, but no field sense. He stripped the alien's data node from its forearm and plugged it into his wrist jack. Maps, route logs, internal comms, all dumped into his system. He didn't flinch when the blood dripped on his shoulder. That night, the jungle shifted again. Dax left behind false trails, scattered broken branches, even staged signs of panic. Alien gear dropped near claw marks carved into the earth. Cyric's party spent the night tracing ghosts. By morning, 2 nobles were missing. One was found face down in a swamp, the other, his head mounted on a sharpened branch. Cyric stood before it, fists clenched. This is no wild beast. No animal uses terror. Then what is it? Asked Lord Jalex, his breathing shallow. Cyric didn't answer. But deep in his chest, the unease stirred. Back in the human camp, Jules studied the retrieved data node with Malin, eyes wide as symbols turned to images. Look at this, he said. They marked this entire continent as a preserve zone. Not just for us. For other species they plan to dump here. Malin looked grim. Earth's about to become a galactic zoo. Jules blinked. Why not just wipe us out first? They think they already did. Dax entered the tent, silent as ever. Not anymore. Inside his personal tent, Cyric reviewed the feeds again. Heat signatures, motion trails, biometric spikes. The hunter they faced wasn't feral. He was surgical. He tapped a claw on the holodable. He's watching us. Then we bait him, said Jalex. Draw him out. How? Jalex turned to the technoble. Find heat traces. Unnatural patterns. Structures. Shelter. Anything not grown. Found one, the technician said. Coordinates due north. Looks like a camp. Power signatures, low but present. Cyric's jaw clenched. Deploy a forward unit. Burn everything. The drone swept past the tree canopy at dawn, silent as death. Dax saw it a heartbeat too late. The camp's proximity alert blinked red. Jules, shut down power now! Malin shouted. But it was too late. The drone's data spike hit orbit. Coordinates locked. Camp identified. Dax watched it happen and didn't flinch. He just turned to Malin. Evacuate. Scatter protocols. Go dark. I'll handle what comes. You can't take them all alone. I won't. He vanished into the jungle again. Behind him, thunder filled the sky as the drop pods descended. The hunt had escalated. But this time, Earth would answer. The flames reached high over the trees, licking the early morning sky in a savage blaze. The alien strike team had done their work well, efficient, emotionless, thorough. What had been a hidden sanctuary minutes ago was now an inferno. Tents, comms, food stores, gone. But there were no bodies. Dax watched the fire from a ledge above the clearing, face unreadable. Wind shifted, blowing the smoke eastward. That was good. It meant the scent trail he left earlier would draw them deeper into the old sewer tunnels, away from the real evac route. He tapped his throat mic. Malin, status? North route secured. Jules led the group out 30 minutes ago. No sign of pursuit yet. You've got 6 hours. That's all I can buy. You staying? Dax didn't answer. On the other side of the fire, Lord Jalex kicked through the ash, growling. Empty, he snarled. No heat signatures. No bodies. No signs of struggle. They ran. Cyric stepped carefully through the blackened remains, kneeling near a melted solar panel. They didn't run, he said. They relocated. Tactically. Fast. He picked up a burned, bent strip of metal, a trap trigger. This isn't an animal's den. It's a base. He's fighting back. He has resources. Permission to send air drones to sweep the tunnels beneath this sector? The Technoble asked. Sirik shook his head. No. He wants us to scatter. Stay as a pack. One direction. North. He laid the false trail. We'll follow it, carefully. Jalex frowned. You're following the bait? I'm confirming the bait, Sirik replied. Then I'll make him choke on it. Dax moved like smoke through the ruins of old Sector 8, what used to be a shopping district now buried beneath jungle and time. Cracked signage peeked through vines. A half-toppled statue of a long-forgotten politician leaned into the roots of a broken oak. He knelt beside a concealed entrance, pulling the latch to slide open a rusted panel. Inside, the dark of the tunnel waited, stale with age. He entered without hesitation. The path led him to a cache, one of several across the city. Inside, weapons, power cells, backup comms, and something he hadn't used in years, a Bodcam drone. He slotted the power core into it and let it hum to life. It buzzed up beside his shoulder, red eye blinking. Record everything, he said. The tunnel opened near the old rail yard, rusted steel bones jutting through the underbrush. Dax scaled one of the storage towers, eyes scanning the clearing. The alien squad moved in disciplined formation below, covering angles, using scouts, scanning for traps. Still too clean. Too predictable. He activated the drone. It zipped ahead, weaving through gaps in the foliage until it perched quietly on a beam. Its visual feed streamed to his wristband, 3 aliens at the front, 2 watching the rear, Sirik dead center. They were looking for confrontation. He'd give them uncertainty instead. Dax laid the trap carefully. Tripline set just under the ferns, tension calibrated to delay detonation by a half-second, long enough for the last hunter in the formation to pass it before the device activated. The moment the charge detonated, he'd already moved into the flank. The explosion cracked like thunder. Shrapnel shredded the side of a storage tank, flinging dirt and leaves skyward. Screams echoed. Not of pain, of confusion. Dax dropped down into their perimeter as the blast faded, slicing through the rear guard with 2 swift, silent strokes. The alien's body collapsed before it could fire. He rolled under a fallen beam as plasma bolts scorched overhead, heat stinging his skin. Jalex's voice barked from the smoke. Flank, flank! Watch the trees! Too late. Dax emerged behind him and buried a blade between his shoulder plates. Jalex dropped with a grunt, clawing at air. Dax grabbed the comm off his belt and whispered into it. 2 down. Then he vanished again. Sirik knelt beside Jalex's dying form, face grim. He's learned our patterns. Blood seeped between Jalex's fangs. He's not prey. No, Sirik said. He's what we were, before we became spectacle. He stood and barked a command. Fall back. Tight formation. He's hurting us. The Technoble fumbled with his scanner, panic evident now. He's jamming our signals. All comms outside this group are dead. Sirik cursed. Then we finish this the old way. Deep underground, Dax uploaded the camera feed to a secure relay node. Every second of combat, every death, recorded. Not for revenge. For exposure. Let the galaxy see what hunters look like when the tables turn, he muttered. Then he moved again. The hunt wasn't over. The sun dipped low as Sirik's group reached the edge of the old reservoir, a massive crater now overtaken by moss and strange vines. The alien leader paused. This is where he wants us, he said. The terrain favors him. We camp here. Night watch in pairs. Rotate every 2 hours. No one argued. That night Dax didn't attack. He let them sit in their fear. He circled them like a ghost, knocking rocks, making sounds, little, persistent cracks in their confidence. Alien nerves frayed. Fingers twitched. Plasma rifles stayed clenched too tight for too long. At 0400, one noble snapped, firing wildly into the dark. He hit nothing. But in that chaos, Dax left a gift. A tag, embedded in a nearby trunk, a simple human symbol scorched into the wood, a skull over fangs. Message received. Cyric stared at it for a long time. He's marking us now. And somewhere in the dark, Dax watched. Waiting. Ready. The jungle before dawn was a different world. Mist clung to the roots, and even the insects held their breath. Dax crouched on a branch above the alien camp, motionless, blending into the canopy. His body was still, but his mind was sharpening the edge of the final strike. 4 left. The noble who'd panicked in the night had shot himself in the foot with a ricochet. Useless now. Carried by the others. Which meant only 3 remained combat-capable. Dax adjusted the phase setting on his rifle. Non-lethal wasn't an option anymore. Every one of them was a threat until their blood fed the soil. He tapped the throat mic. Malin, patch me into the Broadwave uplink. You sure? Once it's active, they'll know we're broadcasting. They need to. High above Earth's atmosphere, the comm beacon stolen from a derelict vessel years ago powered up. Rewired and hidden beneath a dead satellite, it caught the stream Dax sent from the jungle floor and pushed it wide. Across dozens of systems, the feed began to trickle in. Hunters, nobles, even diplomats tuned in expecting a trophy stream, entertainment, gore, another victory for Predatorium tradition. Instead, they got chaos. Cyric stared into the crude viewer one of his surviving crew had salvaged from the wreckage of their comms drone. The live stream showed his own expedition, dead nobles, bleeding guards, scorched jungle, traps, fear. The humans were alive. Worse, they were fighting back. Effectively. He bared his teeth. Who is he? The signal identifies the source as Dax Moran. The technician replied, shaking. No match on official extinction records. He's not alone. No, but he's the one killing us. Cyric looked out over the swamp, where the last noble stood watch, nervous, twitching at every sound. Bring him to me. Dax had predicted the shift. The noble left alone as bait. Meant to draw him in. But they didn't understand how humans hunted, not with brute force, but with patience and pressure. He circled wide, moving silent, always upwind. The bait glanced around, clearly uncomfortable. His helmet was off, breathing labored. Dax waited. Then snap. A branch, deliberate. Not close enough to trigger a panic, but enough to move the noble. The alien crept forward, blaster raised, eyes scanning. Dax stepped from the shadows behind him. A flash of motion, blade drawn. One clean slice across the tendons at the back of the knees. The noble collapsed with a howl, blaster flying. Dax kicked it away, pinned the creature down, and spoke for the first time since the hunt began. You broadcast your hunts? The noble's eyes widened. We're elite. Tradition. The game. Dax leaned in close. The game is over. Then he hit the noble's comm tag and activated the beacon. Cyric watched in disbelief as the final noble's perspective filled his cracked display, only to show his cohort on the ground, throat exposed, and Dax staring directly into the feed. I'm not hiding anymore, Dax said, voice calm, slow. You brought the galaxy to watch your victory. Now they'll watch your end. Then the feed went black. Cyric exploded. He slammed his clawed fist into the remains of the viewer, sending shards into the air. He's controlling the narrative. The image of power. The predator. The technician didn't answer. We're finishing this. Today. He tossed aside his chest plate and retrieved the ceremonial blade from his shuttle crate, thick, curved, etched in the blood languages of his ancestors. I'll kill him with this, he said, voice low. And I'll mount his skull in my chamber. Dax prepped the arena. He knew Cyric would come. Pride wouldn't allow retreat. And if the alien wanted a duel, he'd get one. But not on his terms. He chose the overgrown stadium near the city's edge. What was once a sports arena now stood like a stone coliseum buried in vines, forgotten by time. He laid traps at every exit but one. Set flares. Lit fires. Funneled the approach. Then he waited. The final approach was quiet. Cyric moved alone, blade in hand, armor discarded, eyes wild. He entered the arena through the open passage, torchlight casting flickers on the broken walls. In the center, Dax stood, unarmored, shirt soaked in sweat and ash, knife sheath at his back. Sirik smiled. No traps this time? Dax tilted his head. You wanted a hunt. Now you've got one. They circled slowly. The moment cracked. Sirik lunged, blade swinging. Dax dodged left, grabbed a stone chunk from the ground, and slammed it into Sirik's ribs. The alien staggered, but recovered fast. Blade came again, hissing through the air. Dax ducked, countered with a jab to the throat, then a knee to the chest. Sirik stumbled, but he wasn't just muscle, he was a warrior. A backhand sent Dax crashing into the moss-covered wall. Pain burst through his ribs. He rolled, spat blood. You're fast, Sirik growled. But you bleed. Dax stood. So do you. He threw his knife. Sirik deflected it, but that was the distraction. Dax charged low, tackled him at the waist, and drove both of them into the wall. They crashed through a weakened section and fell into the lower corridor. The alien recovered first, slashed Dax across the side, but Dax locked his arms and twisted the blade away. Then the fists came. No words. No rules. Just survival. Minutes later, Sirik lay against the stone, breathing ragged. Blood leaked from his mouth. Dax stood above him, bruised, face swollen, chest heaving. You hunted us like beasts, Dax said. You are beasts, Sirik wheezed. Dax crouched, placed the recovered bodycam in front of Sirik's broken face, and turned it on. Say it, Dax whispered. Say who won. Sirik bared his fangs, but no words came. His head slumped. Dax shut off the feed. Earth is no one's hunting ground. High above, the stolen satellite broadcast the final signal. Across the galaxy, alien nobles, spectators, and would-be conquerors watched their greatest hunter die in silence. And one message echoed through the stars. We were your prey. Not anymore. The silence after a battle is never peaceful. It's the kind that feels heavy, filled with echoes of violence and the weight of survival. Dax stood at the edge of the broken arena, blood drying on his knuckles, chest rising and falling in slow, controlled breaths. Below him, the body of High Lord Sirik Vental lay still, sprawled in mud and ash like a discarded trophy. Around them, the jungle had begun reclaiming the ruins, vines curling over shattered stone and burned debris. Nature moved on, indifferent. But the galaxy watching the broadcast could not. Dax turned away from the corpse. There was no satisfaction, no triumph, just a task completed. He raised his wrist unit and tapped the secure channel. Malin. Confirm status. Static, then her voice. Evac confirmed. All survivors accounted for. Jules brought them through the gorge undetected. Any contact? None. We're ghosted. Signals clean. Everyone saw it, didn't they? Every system in the Kitharus expanse. A pause. You did it. No, Dax said. We did what we had to. It's not over. In orbit, the wreckage of the alien dropship spun silently. The remaining crew, those not on the hunt, had already fled. Some left before the first noble died, others after watching their commander's execution. The last transmission from Sirik had been a scream, then static. But the real damage had been done by the broadcast. The noble houses of the Predatorium were already turning on one another. Accusations, demands, panic. Dax hadn't just killed the commander, he'd cracked the myth. Earth had teeth, and now the Predators were questioning which of their other preserves might bite back. Back on the surface, Dax returned to the fallback point, an old hydroelectric station fortified with salvaged steel and overgrown camouflage. Malin met him at the gate. She took one look at his face and motioned for the medtechs, but he waved them off. I'm good. Where's Jules? Helping with the signal scrubbing. We've got eyes out, drones in the trees, and an orbit scanner on loop. No new ships incoming. Dax stepped inside, nodded to the gathered crowd. 27 survivors, each marked by life underground and the strain of fear turned resistance. One of the children looked up at him. Did you stop them? He crouched, meeting the boy's eyes. I stopped these ones. There will be more. The child nodded, quiet but calm. The answer didn't scare him. Good. That night, under a sky that hadn't been safe for over a century, the survivors lit a fire not for warmth, but because they could. They shared food, talked freely, laughed quietly. Jules played a cracked old harmonica, badly, but nobody complained. Malin sat beside Dax, passing him a water flask. You really think this changes anything? It changes perception, he said. That's the start. Predators don't chase prey that fights back. But they'll regroup. Retaliate. Yes. But next time, it won't be just me in the jungle. She watched him for a while, then asked, What now? We build. We warn others. We show the stars that Earth wasn't broken. We were buried. And now we've clawed back up. Malin raised an eyebrow. Sounds like you're declaring war. No. Just rewriting the map. Weeks passed. The jungle healed fast. Burn scars faded into green. The bodies were reclaimed by soil or buried deep where no trophies could be found. Dax and the others worked around the clock, reinforcing shelters, training scouts, repurposing captured alien gear. The drones now patrolling the skies wore human tags. They no longer served hunters. One afternoon, Jules found Dax in the command shed, mapping a perimeter with chalk and hand-drawn overlays. Transmission from Kitharus sector just bounced through. Someone hacked their tribunal feed. Played your kill. Looping it. Dax didn't look up. They'll see it as provocation. Or inspiration. You should hear what they're saying. Other species, ones they call primitive, they're asking questions. About Earth. About you. Dax stared at the map. What happens when they come here? Jules asked. Looking for you. Looking to learn. We teach them. How to vanish. How to fight back. How to turn the hunt inside out. He paused. Then added, and if they come to finish the job, we show them what Earth really is. Jules finished, a grin tugging at his mouth. Dax finally looked up, and for the first time in years he smiled. Later that night, Dax sat alone at the top of the old weather tower. Stars filled the sky, brilliant and wide. He spoke softly into his recorder, the one broadcasting into the void, the one he didn't expect a reply from, but used anyway. This is Dax Moran. Last operative of Red Talon Unit. Earth is no longer dormant. If you hear this, know that the hunters came, and they died here. We are not extinct. We are not prey. We are the line that turns and bites. He ended the message and leaned back against the metal. Above him, the sky pulsed with new light, distant ships, moving slow, scanning. Dax didn't move. Let them come. He would be waiting. Because Earth wasn't just surviving anymore. Earth was hunting.